Moving on now to the configuration part of this series of videos, we're going to start configuring the HQ router at the top. I've connected to the HQ router using SSH. I'll show you the configuration. So we have the inside and outside interfaces configured. NAT is configured with overload and there's a default route. The first part of the DMVPN configuration is to configure the IPsec, IKE Phase 1 and Phase 2. For this lab we're using IKE version 2 and we're going to set up Phase 1 using AES-128, SHA-1, Diffie-Hellman Group 5 with pre-shared key authentication. Phase 2 will be AES-128, SHA-1 with no PFS. So switching into configuration mode, we'll drop in some commands to set up the pre-shared key authentication and setting up the IKE v2 profile, referencing the keyring that was set above. And now setting up the IPsec profile, linking it with the Phase 1 IKE v2 profile. Moving on now to the tunnel configuration. We're going to add a tunnel and give it an IP address. Notice that we're using a 24-bit mask because this is going to be an mGRE interface. We need to set the tunnel source and set this as GRE multipoint. Now we configure the IPsec protection profile for this GRE interface and set the MTU to 1400. This ensures that it allows for the encryption headers. As this is the central router, we're going to add in 3 more commands for NHRP. We're going to set up the multicast map, which will be dynamic. We need to add in an NHRP network ID that needs to match across all routers. And because this is the core router, it needs to be configured with NHRP redirects. The final job on the HQ router is to set up BGP. All routers in this network will be BGP peers using the same AS number. So we're going to be using iBGP for this. I'm going to be using the AS number 65101, pop in the router ID, and we'll just add the log neighbor changes so we can see what's going on. The next thing to do is configure which network is going to be advertised, which is the LAN interface network, and set the BGP timers. We have an update interval of 10 seconds and a hold time of 60 seconds. Now we add the neighbors, and these are the peer routers. The first neighbor is remote site 1, also using the same AS65101. As we're using iBGP, we need to set the HQ router as a route reflector. This ensures that any routes received from neighboring iBGP peers will be reflected to other iBGP peers. And I'll repeat this for the other BGP peers. That's the configuration of the HQ router complete. And just quickly review what we've done. We've added in the Phase 1 and Phase 2 configuration for IPsec, along with the pre-shared key using a keyring. We added a GRE tunnel interface, set it to GRE multipoint, and added an IPsec protection profile. And finally, we configured BGP using the local AS number of 65101, configured the network to be advertised as the LAN network, and then added in some neighbors using the same AS number as the local AS, and set this router as a route reflector for the neighbors. In the next video, we'll move on to the Cisco remote site configuration. See you in a moment.